If there is one driver that has kept us entertained throughout the summer break, that has to be Daniel Ricciardo. The 8-time race winner has agreed to buy out terms with McLaren, and it seems like both sides are now willing to let go as it became evident that there isn't any future between them. On top of that, Ricciardo hasn't been a very wanted asset throughout the grid as we originally anticipated, and it seems like we'll have to settle for the reserve role in some team. Well, that some team isn't just any team on the grid, as Ricciardo's been rumoured to join Mercedes as the reserve driver of the team. With this being the only option that Ricciardo is currently having on the table, apart from Williams and Haas, Wolff spoke about Ricciardo's chances of joining the Brackley-based team anytime in the future. What did he have to say about the Aussie? Stick around with us to find out more. Ricciardo just hasn't been able to make it work with McLaren, and although the team has vividly struggled in the 2022 season, 2021 was famous only for his 8th career win and the 1-2 win of the team, followed by Norris. Apart from that, McLaren was just a one-man show, something that the team has infamously continued to do in 2022 due to Ricciardo's lack of performance. His 19 points with just 6 races remaining on the calendar aren't something that he should settle with, and that is the main reason why McLaren were forced to look in another way when it comes to the 2023 starting driver role. On top of that, Ricciardo is having lots of struggles to find himself a seat in 2023. Although many speculated that it would be so easy for the Aussie to fit in elsewhere, such as Alpine and Haas, it seems like both of these teams are looking in another direction when it comes to signing the right driver. Alpine has called 4 drivers for testing in Hungaroring, an event that is supposed to happen prior to the Singapore GP, and Haas is reportedly looking to sign a driver that is willing to drive on a smaller payroll, such as Hülkenberg or Giovinazzi. That leaves Ricciardo with only one option, Mercedes. It seems like Ricciardo himself has thought about this and accepted this as his only reasonable thing to do in 2023 and then try to conquer for a seat in 2024. However, his plans are majestic, to say the least, as he plans to go for the Mercedes starting driver seat 2024 if Hamilton wasn't to continue the deal with the Brackley-based team and is willing to retire. According to Joe Saward, who is a renowned F1 journalist, Mercedes are considering Ricciardo as the reserve driver just in case Hamilton decides that enough is enough and departs after 2023. He said, "The latest word is that Daniel might take a year off in 2023 if he is not offered the Alpine drive. Then, as an experienced F1 winner, he could return to the sport as a reserve in 2024, helping to rebuild his confidence by measuring his performance against the top names. I hear he has been talking to Mercedes about such a role, which would put him in with a chance of a race drive in the future if Lewis Hamilton decides that he has had enough. That must happen eventually, and while Mercedes has George Russell in place, it is waiting for the next big thing," finished Joe. However, we all know that Mercedes isn't leaving themselves without reserve drivers, as the names of Van Dorn and De Vries have been regular in the reserve driver role. There is one potential name that Mercedes is looking to bank in the future, and that is Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who is currently racing in F4. However, according to Joe, the Italian is good 3 to 4 years away from F1, and there is likely to be a gap between Hamilton's departure and Antonelli's arrival. This is why Ricciardo would fit in nicely, as we all know that he'll fill the position extremely well without issues if he's given the chance of fitting with the car for a full year. According to Toto Wolff, it would be nothing but a pleasure to work with Ricciardo, but the mentality in Mercedes is something that won't undergo changing, as he added, "We always had an eye on Daniel. We really like him in here. It's just a mentality in Mercedes. I sometimes feel if you're happy in your relationship, it's not always easy to change. It's like being married. You need to be 100% behind it. It was not a lack of interest. It was just that we were in a happy relationship and there was no need to flirt with another woman at that stage," said Wolff as to why Mercedes never signed Ricciardo until now. According to Ricciardo, all of the options are on the table, and when he was asked about the Mercedes role prior to the Monza GP on Thursday's press conference, he was sitting in between Hamilton and Russell when he gave some straightforward answers. Ricciardo talked about a project, something that is fitting in the narrative of Williams, and whether or not he'll be willing to join a team that has a long-term plan for winning, as he answered, "I still definitely have the ability to love a project. But of course, if there is this longer project and this one where you're going to win tomorrow, of course I'm going to go for the quick wins. They are things I will definitely give some thought to. I don't also want to be stubborn or short-sighted and be like, no, I'm not interested in that. I will give everything its respected thought. From 2017, every 2 years I've been with a different team. I don't want to just sign something and think, wait, now something else is there for 2024. So it's probably not as simple as just getting somewhere on the grid next year. It can probably go in many different directions, so I don't think it needs an immediate decision. It's going to be about what's best for me. On top of that, he spoke about his future as a reserve driver, saying that anything is on the table and he does not want to exclude any option as of now, adding, I wouldn't give up on F1. If it means I'm not on the grid next year, I'll certainly try to find a way to be there in 2024. It's honestly the only racing I'm really interested in at the moment. My mindset is still, I'm an F1 driver. I am proud of what I've done, but I still feel there's a bit more to show, to give. I wouldn't race another category next year, said Ricciardo. The truth is, I'm keeping every option open, not only for next year, but for the future. Still don't know what next year looks like. As Lewis said earlier, I do want to be on the grid, I do want to race. Although it's certainly been a challenging time in my career, it hasn't taken the love of the sport away from me and that desire to still be here and still compete, finished Ricciardo. When Hamilton was asked about Ricciardo being the reserve driver in Mercedes, the 7-time world champion said, I think he's far too talented and he's earned the right to be amongst us all racing. If he's a part of our team, that'd be great, but a third role is not really what's best for him. If I were managing him, he'd be racing, said Hamilton, who also added that he has never felt better in his 37th year of life and that he plans to extend the deal with Mercedes in the upcoming period. For me, I feel healthier than I've ever felt. I'm feeling fit. I love what I'm doing and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. My goal is to always be with Mercedes. I signed with them in 1997. I love we have the long partnership we have. I feel like we're embarking on a lot of really positive things, not only in the sport but outside, and I think there's a lot to accomplish together. I want to be a part of that, finished Hamilton. This kind of puts a nail in the coffin for Ricciardo's hopes of inheriting a spot in Mercedes from 2024 and beyond, and it's very unlikely that this will happen since Hamilton still sees the future with a Brackley-based team. But what did Russell have to say regarding this matter? I've not heard any reports or heard anything, but I think Daniel's track record speaks for itself, really. He's a driver deserving of a seat on the Formula 1 grid, and it would be a real shame for him to not be there next season. But obviously from our side, having a driver of his caliber joining the team in any capacity would be a real boost. He's a driver I get along with. I just hope he stays on the grid and in the sport, finished Russell. With that being said, what do you think about Ricciardo's move to Mercedes? Let us know in the comments below.